So my name's James Noble. I'm an orthodontist practicing in Toronto, Canada. In second year dental school, we were first introduced to orthodontics, and I was blown away by how much I was interested in it. So much so that I purchased some textbooks and started to read on orthodontics on my own time. And we had a reading week. I took the the Bashira textbook to the beach, and I read the whole textbook, and realized how much I loved the biomechanics, the treatment planning, and soon realized how much of a difference we as orthodontists can make in our patients' lives. And so I decided that, I wanted to be an orthodontist at that point. Orthodontics means creating smiles, changing faces, and giving people the confidence to really be themselves in life. It's everything to me personally. My wife's an orthodontist, and my best friends are orthodontists. I'm thinking about orthodontics all the time. I'm thinking about the cases that I see, the cases I'm struggling with, the journal articles that I'm reading, the conversations I'm having with my friends about their cases, seeing people on the street. I'm looking at their teeth. I'm looking at their smiles. So it's kind of in my mind all the time. So orthodontics is truly everything to me. Well, that's tricky because I guess I can answer what I want it to mean to society in terms of what I want society to see an orthodontist to be, and how I want the society to see us as specialists is a specialty on its own. We're doctors, so we have a covenant with our patients, and they trust us. And orthodontics is certainly not a commodity. It's something where they come to us for an honest opinion. And as orthodontists, we're the only ones truly able to give all the treatment options to our patients and truly deliver on those treatment options, which is informed consent. So they can come to us and they can understand truly what's going on with their malocclusion, and be able to obtain the options, and we're able to obtain informed consent. Only we as orthodontists can truly give those options. So orthodontists, it's a pretty serious specialty, and I hope that the public sees it as that, and it's not belittled by marketing endeavors from do-it-yourself companies and from other companies. So most people don't know that I practice orthodontics with my wife. We're dental school sweethearts, and we got married and practiced together. And I often get the question of, how do you practice with your wife? And there's issues, and we've been practicing it for a very long time. And I guess first thing I say is I follow the same philosophy as I do in my home, which is just listen to what she says and do what she says. On the other aspect is the beauty of being able to practice with a partner, because I don't feel alone when I practice. I can run things by her. And I know that if I'm really messing up, or if she sees something, she'll come and she'll let me know that I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, or something, should be done a certain way. And although I feel bad about it, it actually helps me improve and become a better orthodontist. So if you have a partner who's being able to be honest and critical of you, then you grow, and it works both ways. We grow together and we learn together, and we don't feel alone in practicing and dealing with the issues that we're dealing with. So that's one thing that I recommend, is to be able to practice with someone and not be alone. And it certainly works really well for us. We do shop a lot. We have kids, so we're spending most of our time dealing with our kids, but we both have a passion for orthodontics, so we enjoy talking about it. And I guess that makes our bond stronger. So I'm going to separate this answer into two parts. Firstly, the clinical component. The most difficult case, in my opinion, to treat are the cases of oligodontia, where patients are missing more than 6 teeth. Sometimes they're missing 15, 16, 20, 25 teeth. Oftentimes, these cases come with associated skeletal dysplasias and patients with poor dental anatomy and also poor enamel. And so we're challenged with doing interdisciplinary treatment to prepare the patient for jaw surgery, for bone grafting, for implants, and for cosmetic dentistry. So being able to collaborate with all of the associated specialties and communicate with them and meet patients' expectations is very challenging. And further, it's also extremely challenging because oftentimes we meet these patients when they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and we're unable to fully complete the treatment until they're 18 in females or 21 in males. And that's very difficult for patients to be able to have such a long course of monitoring, treatment, follow-up to achieve their goals. But at the same time, as an orthodontist, it is, and for the patient, it's more sweet and rewarding when we do have a wonderful final result. Now that's the clinical aspect. So now, number two is the most difficult. It's easy to treat patients, a clinical presentation. It's really hard to treat patients who have unrealistic expectations. And so you can't win with a loser, you can only win with a winner. And so if someone comes in with very unrealistic expectations, I can't treat patients with body dysmorphia, patients who are going to be challenging me at every appointment, questioning me, having a poor attitude. So, you know, the most difficult malocclusion, we could treat that, but we can't treat a human being if they're being very difficult. So to me, that's even more difficult, patients with unrealistic expectations. I would say two things. One is I've been practicing for almost 20 years, and certainly there's been a rise in the corporatization of orthodontics. And that's something that as a non-corporate orthodontist, or I call it independent orthodontist, is challenging for us to do in clinical practice, because our treatment is different. It's different in terms of how we approach treatment, in terms of and it's important for us to stay true that we're healthcare providers prior to being business persons. And I would encourage all associates in corporate office to have that mindset and not be influenced by treatment coordinators, by CEOs, or any other outside individual to challenge your core beliefs of how you want to treat. And that is doing what's right for the patient first prior to what's right to the business. I'll give you an example, and that is if a patient comes in, the treatment coordinator may want to push the patient to accept treatment right away to get a same-day start so they can get their bonus. However, the patient may need multiple dental procedures. They may need a cleaning. They may need fillings. They may need to be seen a periodontist. And I do get calls all the time from younger orthodontists who are challenged by these TCs and by CEOs who don't like their method of practice. And in that case, they need to depart from that type of practice, because that's not, you can't be a doctor if you can't follow healthcare before business. secondly, the other big change in the last, that's kind of my little bias. I've got a lot more to say on that, but I wanted to raise controversy today. So the other thing that changed a lot is the commoditization of orthodontics and the rise in do-it-yourself treatment, the rise in facilitating general dentists to perform orthodontic treatment. And the unity that orthodontists need to combat the commoditization of what we do. And for me personally, who, you know, and for all of us, I'm insulted by this and the fact that orthodontics can be delivered by mail, the fact that GPs can treat complex cases that they really should be referring to specialists. I mean, we study so hard for so many years to become orthodontists, and the only ones to really kind of stand up and protect the specialty is us. And we really need to be united in order to say, no, it's wrong. You know, you can't treat cases by mail. You need to have X, Y, Z done. There has to be standards to how we practice and standards for our results. In 10 years, I see AI being more of a factor in how we practice. I have a friend of mine who works for a company called Overjet. His name's Gordon Barfield, and he'd tell me all the amazing technology advances with AI, and I think, you know, it's going to be interesting. I mean, certainly it's always going to be a guide for us. I mean, we plug in the Ceph, we plug in the pan and the photos to see what AI spits out, but it's just a guide. We're always going to be relevant, and we're always going to be needed to treatment plan, to communicate with patients. I think insurance companies are going to be using AI as well, and that's going to be another challenge for us, and something we really should start having more discussions about. So my friend Neil Kravitz asked me to be part of the JCO, and it's been just absolutely fantastic meeting everybody in the JCO and seeing what an incredible, dedicated family they are and how much passion they have for the specialty. And what I really love is how well represented the JCO is throughout the world. It's not just like US based. There's orthodontists from all over the world who come together, gather, and really try to take the clinical aspect of orthodontics to the next level and share a peer-reviewed process to our specialty in terms of clinical orthodontics. So the JCO is very special for that. If I can kind of elaborate further on the JCO, like it was, you know, my wife and I, it was our favorite journal when we were residents, and we read every issue. And the beauty of being a JCO member is that you get an archive of all of the JCO articles from history, which is incredible. And sometimes I go back and I read articles by Bjorn Zachrisson and Vince Kokich and Bill Prophet, just to name a few. And you have access to all their knowledge. Our favorite section is the interview articles where they interview famous orthodontists. And in those interviews, you can really get to know those orthodontists at a deeper level in their practice philosophy and learn so much from them, which is really special to have now, because a lot of those gurus and giants in the specialty are gone, but we have all of their interviews and their articles saved in this archive. And this archive is so golden. So it's really, really cool to be able to access those on the JCO member forum. So I appreciate that the most. Yeah, I think I talked about it in terms of a community of orthodontists who are review articles on a peer-reviewed level and able to put these articles together and present them to the specialists, orthodontic specialists worldwide. And I think it's kind of evolved a little bit too, in terms of now we have webinars. I mean, the face of the JCO is Neil Kravitz, and Neil Kravitz is truly a leader in our specialty. And I'm just excited and happy to be part of it and to be part of his team. Well, I think they're all relevant. I think all these social media groups are great. I run a social media Facebook group that's controversial, and I think it's important for us to have the JCO is certainly more formal and it's peer reviewed, and it's an actual journal, which is huge, right? So the JCO is so well run, and it's run with an intent of honesty and for what's best for the specialty. So that to me is huge. So I guess my favorite JCO article goes back to, I think it was the interview from Bill Prophet about myofunctional orthodontics in 1980, I believe, in the 80s. And if you look at that article, the same issue has come back today, and how Bill Prophet's answering the questions. We're dealing with the same thing today. So it's just fascinating how orthodontics comes back, and how the controversies just come back, and how the arguments against the controversies are the same, you know, from 30, 40 years ago to today. And I guess if I can say one more thing is when I started practicing, I was given really good advice. I was practicing with an orthodontist who practiced for more than 50 years, and he was faculty at the university, and we practiced together for a number of years. His name was Howard Tile, and he told me when my first year of practice that there's going to be all these different types of controversies that come back, and as an example is the extraction versus non-extraction controversy. And he said, you just have to do what's right. For example, you're going to hear a lot of people say you can't extract on these cases. But after 50 years, I've realized that extraction cases just on a borderline case just turn out better than non-extraction cases. So you gotta, listen to the right people and soak up the evidence. There's no right or wrong answer, but you've just gotta, in your gut, know and do what's right. And that's how I think we have to approach these controversial areas. First of all, I talked about the archive. The archive is unreal. You have access to the minds of the gurus from the past. You also are part of an amazing community of orthodontists, and you have access to the journals that come up with articles on all the new technology and all the new clinical pearls cases. And further, there's webinars that are now being shared by the JCO, as well as a great social media presence. So, what you get for the money you're paying is really incredible. Again, I'm going to give two answers to this. Sorry, I'm cheating. One is when I first got into ortho, I didn't realize just how hard orthodontics is. How hard, orthodontics can be really easy if you really don't care and if you just kind of align the teeth, but aligning the teeth is not orthodontics. Orthodontics, if you really want to treat a case well, is very, very challenging. I didn't realize just how challenging that was until I really started delving into orthodontics. And the second thing is I didn't realize how important communication skills were when I started communicating with my patients, informing them of the different options, being able to have them understand their options, communicating with my staff, being able to have difficult confrontations with them, and being able to appease angry parents, which happens on occasion. I really keep going back to Dale Carnegie's book, how to effectively communicate with people, and how to win friends and influence people, in terms of my core communicating skills. So that, it's communication all day long. We're doing orthodontics all day long, but communicating effectively and efficiently in an orthodontic practice is probably our most important skill. My best advice for practicing orthodontics is our biggest challenge, and what determines our joy in practice, is having not to deal with difficult situations. And so 99% of the problems we're going to encounter is going to be in adults. And so when we're at the consults, we're essentially deciding if we're going to be married to this patient for the next 2-3 years. And so we have to be very mindful if we want to be in a relationship with that person. And so if there's any hint that and it's hard sometimes, we're just meeting the person for the first time. I like to spend time at the consultation to get to know them. And I'm very hesitant in terms of starting adults. So I'm interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing me. With adults, the key is determining their expectations for treatment. And if their expectations for treatment exceeds what I can deliver, I can't treat that person. And I'm never going to get a happy result treating that person. If their expectations are lower than what I can deliver, then I'm comfortable with them. In adults, my explanation to them is that, say I have a 40-year-old adult, is that their occlusion has been in that comfortable position for over 30 years. And so I'm disrupting that neutral zone and that equilibrium. And there's a potential to open a can of worms. And I explain the benefits and the burdens. And if the burden exceeds the benefit, then we really shouldn't do treatment. And so, it's talking to them and explaining and being honest with them. And sometimes you have to come out and say, I don't think it's going to be a good relationship for us. And I don't think it's going to work out. And it may be initially very awkward, very uncomfortable, but in the long run, you're doing yourself and the patient a favor by not starting this treatment. Kids are pretty easy. They come in, we treat them. We have joy in treating them. But the adults are the tricky ones. So be very careful with the adults that present to you. My best advice for residents is to soak up as much as you can during your residency. It's really what you make of it. Take advantage of trying different brackets, picking the brains of different instructors. Go to every single meeting you can. Talk to your instructors and visit their offices. Read as much as you can. Take advantage of company reps who come in and try to sell you things. Try to get as much product and information as you can for them. Make yourself known in your community where you plan on practicing, and be very careful who you trust in the specialty and who you listen to. Be mindful and try to find good mentors in the specialty. There are really great people who are out there. I'm going to shout out to Dr. Glenn Dubrock, who is probably one of the best mentors you can meet and talk to, who will be honest with you, and give you really sound, fair advice. I would say in our practice, we should do 30% extraction cases. And in those cases, the challenge is maintaining anterior torque as your closing space. And so I use an 18 slot. In all my patients, get into full dimension arch wire, 1725 night ties. We then, in extraction cases, I use an MBT prescription. And in extraction cases, I use an upper 2-2 MBT. to help control anterior torque as we close space. And in non-extraction cases, we typically use upper 2 to 2 Roth, MBT everywhere else. And that has been a huge benefit to us in terms of how we maintain our anterior torque in closing spaces. So that would be a really huge clinical pro I would share.